get our stuff set up here. And you know
There
what?
we go.
I can't turn my phone while live. Okay, that's fine. I think we're going to see that keep popping up, man.
Probably.
I'm just going to put up with it. And if it doesn't come out the way we want, such is life. My friends, God's blessings upon you. Let's praise the Lord together, my friends. We have all awakened in God's shelter. Praise His name together. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
my friends.
My friends.
Sing Hosanna.
Hosanna.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Allahu Akbar, Ya Baha'u'llah. In the sanctuary of our Lord's protection and the stronghold of our Lord's defense. With His love, our spirits are illumined as we glorify His name. Our hearts are blessed. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, my friend.
My friend.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
my friend.
My friend.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone out there in our Zoom stream. Let's see who's here. I know that Jeremiah is here, and my glasses are terrible. But Terry's here. Good morning, Terry. And this is Dell. Looks like Dell from all the way across the room here. But good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm from California.
We're so glad you could join us.
Aloha, good morning.
Aloha, aloha.
Hello.
And good morning. I'm not seeing anyone in the Facebook stream right now, but maybe they'll pop in. I don't know. I know this is Christmas Eve. We know this is Christmas Eve. A lot of people all around the world are probably doing their last minute shopping and so forth and so on. And we just decided, you know what? This is early in the morning.
Yeah, we're gonna
We
do
might
this.
as well do this. Yeah. So here we are. And again, we're glad that you all can join us. How you doing today, Daryl?
I'm good. How are
You
you?
good? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I usually have a complaint of the day. My complaint of the day is Nini's not here. She's working, as always, on Christmas or Christmas Eve. So, but yeah. But other than that, I don't have a lot to complain about.
Good.
I've already. I do have a list that I wrote up. I'll share with you that and share that with you later. But at this point, nothing. Nothing specific. Let's go ahead and start with a prayer. And this is a prayer for steadfastness. And well, I love this prayer by Abdul Baha. O Lord my God, assist thy loved ones to be firm in thy faith, to walk in thy ways, to be steadfast in thy cause. Give them thy grace to withstand the onslaught of self and passion, to follow the light of divine guidance. Thou art the powerful, the gracious, the self-subsisting, the bestower, the compassionate, the almighty, the all-bountiful. And again, this is a prayer by Abdul Baha. Now, as you know, as I said earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, people all around the world are celebrating Christmas or getting ready to celebrate it tomorrow. And I don't know, do you have a big Christmas celebration, Daryl?
No, not really.
Not really.
Not
Yeah,
really.
me
We
either.
have a few family members.
Yeah, yeah. So do
Several
I.
family members who are not Baha'is who
Yeah.
get together, but
Oh yeah. And same here. And I know some. I'm speaking about this deliberately because I do know that some people think that Baha'is are forbidden to celebrate Christmas and things like that, and of course we're not. But I do know people who make a huge deal out of Christmas because culturally speaking, it's a wonderful time of year, and all the lights and gifts, gift giving, and so forth and so on, and other people who, like, again, kind of keep it more low key. But yeah, we're here because what else we're going to be doing on this time of the morning? I don't know, a cup of coffee over maybe some.
sleeping.
Oh, you'd be sleeping. Okay. And we have Morgan joining us this morning. I don't know Morgan. Morgan. Good morning, Morgan. I don't know if you can hear me yet. And Pam Payne is with us in the Facebook stream. Pam frequently joins us, I should say.
Good morning, Pam.
Hi, Pam. How you doing? And you know what? She does a Wednesday devotion that I get the email for. And I always see it too late. She sends it out in plenty of time, but I always see it too late to join them. And I'm hoping I can join you for your devotion sometime in the future, Pam. But as usual, we're going to go ahead and get moving here. And as usual, we are continuing our study, I should say, of the book Baha'u'llah and the New Era. Baha'u'llah and the New Era. And as I've said in the past, it's a great book, especially for, anyone, I'd say, but for people who are interested in knowing, okay, these Baha'is, why are they Baha'is? You want to know? This is a good book to read. And even if you are a Baha'i, this is a great book to learn more about the Baha'i faith and refresh yourself.
your
Yes, if
knowledge,
you need refreshing. And last week we were reading, excuse me, we were reading about Baha'u'llah's imprisonment. Okay, that's pretty much for the last couple of weeks what we were reading about. And what we're going to read about today is about when Baha'u'llah was finally released from the prison of Akka. As you know, he spent his life as a captive from the time of his before his declaration, actually, but for the vast majority of his life. But there was a point where at least he was released from prison while still being, governmentally speaking or politically speaking, still being a captive and still going through great hardship. So we're going to start reading there today on it. If you have this edition of the book, it is on page 41, but it might be on a different page in a different edition. But the section that we're going to start reading is Prison Gates Opened. Prison Gates Opened. Good morning, Artisher. We see that you're here. Good morning. Mm-hmm. So, Daryl, if you'd be so kind.
Sure. Even when the imprisonment was at its worst, the Baha'is were not dismayed, and their serene confidence was never shaken. While in the barracks at Akka, Baha'u'llah wrote to some friends, "Fear not, these doors shall be opened. My tent shall be pitched on Mount Carmel, and the utmost joy shall be realized." This declaration was a great source of consolation to his followers, and in due course it was literally fulfilled. The story of how the prison doors were opened had best be told in the words of Abdul Baha, as translated by his grandson, Shoghi Effendi. Baha'u'llah loved the beauty and verdure of the country, and one day he passed the remark, "I have not gazed on verdure for 9 years. The country is the world of the soul, and the city is the world of bodies." When I heard indirectly of this saying, I realized that he was longing for the country, and I was sure that whatever I would do towards the carrying out of his wish would be successful. There was in Akka at the time a man called Muhammad Pasha Safwat, who was very much opposed to us. He had a palace called Mizrahi, about 4 miles north of the city, a lovely place, surrounded by gardens and with a stream of running waters. I went and called on this Pasha at his home. I said, "Pasha, you have left the palace empty and are living in Akka." He replied, "I am an invalid and cannot leave the city. If I go there, it is lonely and I am cut off from my friends." I said, "While you are not living there and the place is empty, let it to us." He was amazed at the proposal, but soon consented. I got the house at a very low rent, about £5 per annum. And I paid him for 5 years and made a contract. I sent laborers to repair the place, and put the garden in order, and had a bath built. I also had a carriage prepared for the use of the Blessed Beauty. One day I determined to go and see the place for myself. Notwithstanding the repeated injunctions given in successive firmans that were on no account to pass the limits of successive firmans that we were on no account. Excuse me. I'm sorry. That we were on no account to pass the limits of the city walls, I walked out through the city gate. Gendarmes were on guard, but they made no objection. So I proceeded straight to the palace. The next day, again, I went out with some friends and officials, unmolested and unopposed, although the guards and sentinels stood on both sides of the city gates. Another day, I arranged a banquet and spread a table under pine trees of Baji, and gathered round it the notables and officials of the town. In the evening, we all returned to the town together. One day I went to the holy presence of the Blessed Beauty and said, "The palace of Mizrahi is now, Mazrahi is ready for you, and a carriage to drive you there." At the time, there were no carriages in Akka or Haifa. He refused to go, saying, "I am a prisoner." Later, I requested him again, but got the same answer. I went so far as to ask him a third time, but he said no, and I did not dare insist further. There was, however, in Akka certain Mohammedan sheikh, a well-known man with considerable influence who loved Baha'u'llah and was greatly favored by him. I called the sheikh and explained the position to him. I said, "You are daring. Go tonight to his holy presence. Fall on your knees before him. Take hold of his hands and do not let go until he promises to leave the city." He was an Arab. He went directly to Baha'u'llah and sat down close to his knees. He took hold of the hands of the Blessed Beauty and kissed them and asked, "Why do you not leave the city?" He said, "I am a prisoner." The sheikh replied, "God forbid. Who has the power to make you a prisoner? You have kept yourself in prison. It was your own will to be in prison, and now I beg you to come out and go to the palace. It is beautiful and verdant. The trees are lovely and the oranges like balls of fire. As often as the Blessed Beauty said, 'I am prisoner, it cannot be,' the sheikh took his hands and kissed them. For a whole hour he kept on pleading. At last, Baha'u'llah said, 'Kaili Kub, very good.' And the sheikh's patience and persistence were rewarded. He came to me with great joy to give the glad news of His Holiness consent. In spite of the strict ferment of Abdul Aziz, which prohibited my meeting or having any intercourse with the Blessed Perfection, I took the carriage the next day and drove with him to the palace. No one made any objection. I left him there and returned myself to the city. For 2 years he remained in that charming and lovely spot. Then it was decided to remove to another place, at Baji. It so happened that an epidemic disease had broken out at Baji, and the proprietor of the house fled away in distress with all his family, ready to offer the house free of charge to any applicant. We took the house at a very low rent, and there the doors of majesty and true sovereignty were flung wide open. Baha'u'llah was nominally a prisoner, for the drastic ferments of Sultan Abdul Aziz were never repealed, yet, in reality, he showed forth such nobility and dignity in his life and bearing that he was reverenced, by all, and the rulers of Palestine envied his influence and power. Governors and mutasarrifs, generals, and local officials would humbly request the honor of attaining his presence, and requests to which he seldom acceded.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, Daryl, because you know what? There's a lot. I mean, obviously, what's going on here is if you're just reading about it, it's quite obvious. And yet, you know, I keep thinking about it with the, I guess, in the context or with the backdrop of, number one, here you have a manifestation of God, okay, who's been imprisoned, never allowed to no longer be a captive. He was a political prisoner, if nothing else. But so many coincidences seem to happen that basically, as far as I'm concerned, ended up being the realization of things that have been predicted or prophesied, if you want to use a more lofty term, you know, but they seem to just kind of, in certain ways, just happen. You know, places became available due to circumstances, and Abdul Baha, in reverence and obedience to his father Baha'u'llah, you know, took the necessary steps to, you know, to obtain these places and so forth.
Sure.
And so it's easy to look at it from the point of view of, you know, just the objective or simplistic point of view of, you know, these things just happened. But in happening, they brought about again, the realization of things that had been predicted, some things that had been predicted thousands of years ago, that would happen. I mean, the pitching of the tent on Mount Carmel, and of course, even Baha'u'llah's shrine being, on Mount Carmel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these things, you read about them, and the fact that Abdu'l-Baha was able to just walk out the city gates, things of that nature. I remember reading a story in the Bible of Jesus where, and I don't remember all the details of the story, but I do remember one of his disciples. I wish I could remember the details. I'm sure someone out there can help us out. But where, for whatever reason, they were in need of a donkey. And a donkey was just available, shall we say. So a lot of these things, again, if you look at them, they just seem like, just kind of coincidences that are just happening. But throughout all of this, it's easy to, again, just dismiss them in that way. But this is kind of also the way that God works.
Yeah.
It's not always these big, amazing, obvious miracles. A lot of times it reminds me of a story that I remember a minister telling, one of the few I remember from when I was a kid, because I'm not sure I was always listening. But I remember a minister, I've told you the story before, talking about a little boy who his mother wanted him to learn piano. And I would bet someone out there has probably heard this story. But his mother wanted him to learn piano, and he was taking piano lessons. He wasn't very good. But she wanted to inspire him, and there was a virtuoso pianist coming to town, so she got a ticket to take her son to the concert. And they went to the concert. Concert hadn't started yet. They're sitting there in the front row. And she starts talking to some people next to her. The curtain goes up, and she turns back, and her son is no longer in his seat. Curtain goes up, and somehow he has made his way on stage. And he's sitting at the piano, and he's plunking out badly, but plunking out the tune to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to the best of his ability. And the concert pianist that the people came to see comes walking out, and they applaud. The boy's playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. His mother is horrified. She stands up. The pianist tells her, "No, sit down, let him play." And so the boy keeps playing. And the pianist sits down beside him, and he puts his arm around him and puts his other arm out. And while the boy keeps playing, he starts adding in all this beautiful accompaniment. And it becomes this beautiful song. And I still remember the minister saying, that's what God does when you make an effort. Those things that you don't have control over.
He does.
Yeah. So I read this with that in the backdrop of my mind. I see we have my sister Amazah here. Hi, Amazah. We're glad you're joining us today. And hi, Andy. And anyway, that story took 5 minutes to tell. I know it was a long one, but it's just that I think it's a beautiful story. But it also, to me, speaks to, everything isn't always in your control. But often there are things that do occur. And if you're trying to do the right thing, a lot of times powers that you are not equal to can kind of help you along, shall we say. And I'll stop with that anyway. Do you even remember where you were?
Yes, I do, fortunately.
Okay.
The thing that stands out in all of this is that as they decided to move away from the prison grounds and all of that it all happened unopposed.
Yes.
It all happened unopposed.
Yes.
And even the Sheikh, when he went to Baha'u'llah, said, you are the only person who has accepted this imprisonment, So, and who is there anywhere who can imprison you? So it was Baha'u'llah who had chosen to be a prisoner for that period of time.
Yes.
Until the Sheikh convinced him otherwise.
Yes.
On one occasion, a governor of the city implored his favor on the ground of his being ordered by higher authorities to visit wish a certain general, the governor of the city implored his favor on the ground of his being ordered by higher authorities to visit with a certain general, the Blessed Perfection. The request being granted, the general, who was a very corpulent individual, a European, was so impressed with the majestic presence of Baha'u'llah that he remained kneeling on the ground near the door.
Okay, now, that word corpulent.
Fat.
Yeah, I know. But I find it interesting that this is pointed out. Because I'm like, why would he describe his size? But then when you see that he was so impressed that he remained kneeling on the ground.
Yes.
Anyway, I just...
Such was the diffidence of both visitors that it was only after repeated invitations from Baha'u'llah that they were induced to smoke the nargile, a hubble bubble pipe, offered to them. Even then, they only touched it with their lips, and then, putting it aside, folded their arms and sat with an attitude of such humility and respect as to astonish all those who were present. The loving reverence of friends, the consideration and respect that were shown by all officials and notables, the inflow of pilgrims and seekers after truth, the spirit of devotion and service that was manifest all around, the majestic and kindly countenance of the Blessed Perfection, the effectiveness of his command, the number of his zealous devotees, all bore witness to the fact that Baha'u'llah was in reality no prisoner, but a king of kings.
Yes.
Two despotic sovereigns were against him, two powerful autocratic rulers. Yet, even when confined in their own prisons, he addressed them in very austere terms, like a king addressing his subjects. Afterwards, in spite of severe famines, he lived at Baji like a prince. Often he would say, "Verily, verily, the most wretched prison has been converted to a paradise of Eden." Surely such a thing has not been witnessed since the creation of the world.
All right. And I figured at that point you'd put your book down. I think I probably need to explain this song. Not explain it, it doesn't need an explanation, but why this song. Right now we're, of course, around the world, people are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, and who was referred to in the Bible as the Prince of Peace.
Prince of Peace.
Yeah. And yet, we have to admit that right now, as often has often been in the past, unfortunately, and especially this particular time, not a very peaceful time. And so I thought it might be good to play this song. It's called "When the Peace Comes," and here's a brief quote from Abdu'l-Baha. "And so it shall be. These fruitless strifes, these ruinous wars shall pass away, and the most great peace shall come. Is not this that which Christ foretold? Let not a man glory in this, that he loves his country. Let him rather glory in this, that he loves his kind." When the peace comes, what color will it be? When the peace comes, what colors will we see? Will there be darkness over every eye, or the sunlit haze of a new dawn sky? When the peace comes, what will be its sound? When the peace comes, will it echo all around in the raucous endless rancor of explosions, endless, or the quiet thanks of a prayer relentless when the peace comes. When the peace comes. When peace has come, just how will it be? Will mankind be gone, or will we live in harmony? When the peace comes, will the angels mourn? When the peace comes, can another child be born? Will smoke drift over the last sea destroyed? Will we smile for blessings still enjoyed when the peace comes? When the peace comes. Has come, just how will it be? Will mankind be gone, or will we live in harmony? When the peace comes. When the peace comes, when the peace comes. When the peace comes. Well, it's 10:33. Do we have time to go over some more?
Sure.
A little bit of time?
Well, a little bit more.
A little bit more.
But
Okay.
how about if you do Life at Baji?
Okay. Life at Baji. Having in his earlier years of hardship shown how to glorify God in a state of poverty and ignominy, Baha'u'llah in his later years at Baji showed how to glorify God in a state of honor and affluence. The offering of hundreds of thousands of devoted followers placed at his disposal large funds, which he was called upon to administer. Although his life at Baji has been described as truly regal in the highest sense of the word, yet it must not be imagined that it was characterized by material splendor or extravagance. Hang on, we got to let someone else in here. One moment. Which gives me time to say, so don't get it twisted. It must not be imagined that it was characterized by material splendor or extravagance. The Blessed Perfection and his family lived in very simple and modest fashion, and expenditure on selfish luxury was a thing unknown in that household. Near his home, the believers prepared a beautiful garden called Rizwan, in which he often spent many consecutive days or even weeks sleeping at night in a little cottage in the garden. Occasionally, he went further afield. He made several visits to Akka and Haifa, and on more than one occasion pitched his tent on Mount Carmel, as he had predicted when imprisoned in the barracks at Akka. The time of Baha'u'llah was spent for the most part in prayer and meditation, in writing the sacred books, revealing tablets, and in spiritual education of the friends. I'll read that again. The time of Baha'u'llah was spent for the most part in prayer and meditation, in writing the sacred books, revealing tablets, and in spiritual education of the friends. In order to give him entire freedom for this great work, Abdu'l-Baha undertook the arrangement of all other affairs, even meeting the mullahs, poets, and members of the government. All of these were delighted and happy through meeting Abdu'l-Baha and entirely satisfied with his explanation and talks. And although they had not met Baha'u'llah himself, they became full of friendly feeling towards him through their acquaintanceship with his son. For Abdu'l-Baha's attitude caused them to understand the station of his father. The distinguished Orientalist, the late Professor Edward G. Brown at the University of Cambridge, visited Baha'u'llah at Baji in the year 1890 and recorded his impressions as follows. Wow, I love this. I have to take my glasses off. They're not working right today. Again, I'll read that. Professor Edward G. Brown of the University of Cambridge visited Baha'u'llah at Baji in the year 1890 and recorded his impressions as follows. My conductor paused for a moment while I removed my shoes. Then, with a quick movement of the hand, he withdrew, and as I passed, replaced the curtain. And I found myself in a large apartment, along the upper end of which ran a low divan, while on the side opposite to the door were placed 2 or 3 chairs. Though I dimly suspected whither I was going and whom I was to behold, for no distinct intimation had been given to me, a second or two elapsed ere, with a throb of wonder and awe, I became definitely conscious that the room was not untenanted. In the corner where the divan, you know what, I have to find out how to pronounce that word. Someone tell me how to pronounce this word. Divan. I thought so.
Divan.
I've seen this a million times, but looking at it for some reason, I want to call it divan. It's like the other day I was writing, I wrote work. I wrote it right, but it didn't look right. I tried an E. Anyway, in the corner where the divan met the wall.
Divan.
There it is again, where the divan met the wall.
Couch.
Okay. In the corner where the divan met the wall sat a wondrous and venerable figure, crowned with a felt headdress of the kind called Taj by dervishes, but of unusual height and make, round the base of which was wound a small white turban. The face of him on whom I gazed I can never forget, though I cannot describe it. Those piercing eyes seemed to read one's very soul. Power and authority sat on that ample brow, while the deep lines on the forehead and the face implied an age which the jet black hair and beard, flowing down in indistinguishable luxuriance almost to the waist, seemed to belie. No need to ask in whose presence I stood as I bowed myself before one who is the object of a devotion and love which kings might envy and emperors sigh for in vain. A mild, dignified voice bade me to be seated, and then continued, Praise be to God that thou hast attained. Thou hast come to see a prisoner and an exile. We desire but the good of the world and happiness of the nations, yet they deem us a stirrer-up of strife and sedition worthy of bondage and banishment. That all nations should become one in faith and all men as brothers. That the bonds of affection and unity between the sons of men should be strengthened. That diversity of religion should cease and differences of race be annulled. What harm is there in this? Yet so it shall be. These fruitless strifes, these ruinous wars shall pass away, and the most great peace shall come. Do not you in Europe need this also? Is not this that which Christ foretold? Yet do we see your kings and your rulers lavishing their treasures more freely on means for the destruction of the human race than on that which would than on that which would conduce to the happiness of mankind. These strifes and this bloodshed and discord must cease, and all men be as one kindred and one family. Let not a man glory in this, that he loves his country. Let him glory in this, that he loves his kind. Such, so far as I can recall them, were the words which, besides many others, I heard from Baha.
Cut off.
Hmm?
We need to cut off.
No, this is one more sentence. Let those who read them consider well with themselves whether such doctrines merit death and bonds, and whether the world is more likely gain or lose by their diffusion. And this comes from a traveler's narrative, but that's again an account of an eyewitness who actually interacted personally with Baha'u'llah. And now we're going to go ahead and stop there, and next week we'll continue, of course. And we'll start with speaking about the end of Baha'u'llah's life on earth. And at this time, as always, we always like to have some time when anyone who would choose to share a prayer or a song or reading, this is that time. And as always, we always like to start with Andy Murphy, helping us out with some music. Andy, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today?
Yes, I do.
Oh, please feel free to do so.
Seeing as how the Christmas holiday is going to be celebrated either today in some places, tomorrow in others, and a few other dates for certain sects of Christianity, I'm choosing a song here that is sometimes played at Christmas time, called Let All Things Now Living. And the words to that go, let all things now living a song of thanksgiving to God the Creator triumphantly raise. Starts out like that. I will play an instrumental version of that song.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to share?
I can share a prayer if it's okay.
It is always okay, Terry, please.
Say, glory be to thee, who has caused all the holy ones to confess their helplessness before the manifold revelations of thy might, and every prophet to acknowledge his nothingness at the effulgence of thine abiding glory. I beseech thee by thy name that hath unlocked the gates of heaven, and filled with ecstasy the concourse on high, to enable me to serve thee in this day, and to strengthen me to observe that which thou dost prescribe in thy book. Thou knowest, O my Lord, what is in me, but I know not what is in thee. Thou art the all-knowing, the all-informed. And it's from the gleanings of his writings of Baha'u'llah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Terry.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to share? Well then, if you'll just give me a moment to readjust the Facebook streaming camera here. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens after we finish this, because this thing keeps saying it does not support this angle. So we'll see. And let me make another little adjustment here. And I see we had that Jamie joined us this morning. Good morning, Jamie. And I think I already said hello to my sister Amazing, didn't I?
Yes.
Yes. So what are you saying? I can't say it again?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
And John is with us. Good morning, John. I don't think I said hello to Gilbert either. Good morning, Gilbert and John. So I'm glad we did this, number one. I'm glad we did. I think I would have gone through the whole day thinking, we should have had a devotion.
Yeah.
You know, we should have had our morning devotion. So I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the day. But what we do have to be concerned about right now is reminding you that we're not just a couple of guys who decided to, let's do a devotion every Sunday online. We've been doing this for quite some time now. Of course, we started doing it online when the pandemic hit and so forth and so on, and we're still going.
Yeah.
But it's not just us; it is a group effort. We come to you, especially if you're through the Zoom, primarily through the kindness of the Clearwater Baha'is. And if you want to be a part of the Zoom stream, for those of you out there in Facebook land, of course, you'd have to be there at the time of that we're actually doing the program. But you can get there by going to clearwaterbaha'is.org and click on they've got to just click on tabs until you see Sunday morning devotional. So you can come join us in the Zoom if you choose. But we're always glad for those that we can see. I can see you right now simply because, or your names, because the Facebook streaming camera is this way. But also, if you are interested in knowing more about the Baha'i Faith, or even simply finding ways that you can, gain access to the content that we read. Of course, you can purchase the books, but you can also find most of the content for free by going to some certain websites. And what are some of those websites, Daryl?
They are www.baha'i.us, www.baha'i.org, www.bahaiteachings.org, and if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area, you can always access the Clearwater Baha'i website by going to www.clearwaterbaha'is.org.
So there you go. Okay. And well, I do want to again say, just wish happy holidays to everyone out there that is doing the holiday thing at this particular time. Those folks that are bustling around doing all their getting their last minute, let's say, gifts or whatever in order, whatever that may be. And we're always glad that, anytime you have a good reason to do something nice for someone else, I think that's worth,
Absolutely.
yeah. So let me get a moment and,
I just want to say that we live in a world of labels, and it's this time of year when those labels really should become less important, but there's really only one that any of us should ever have any concern about, and that label is that we should label ourselves human, because that puts us all on the same plane. And I will say that if we do that, the next request that I have should be fairly simple and easy. And the only thing that I request as a result of all of us sharing that label is that we learn to love one another and share that love. So that's the only request that I have. But it's not just mine. It is a request of that child whose birthday we are celebrating tomorrow, and the request of our own faith founder, Baha'u'llah. So if you get lonely, if you get, uneasy, just think about the fact that there are probably people all around you who love you, and they will share that love with you, and all you need to do is share it with them. Thank you all for joining us. have a great holiday season.
And we'll probably see you here next week, right? O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light, and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth, whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surroundeth you. Let your vision be world-embracing, rather than confined to your own self. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. Be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Have a good week, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Take care. We'll see you next
Allahu
week.
Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. And I see Terry Joyner, my boy, is joining us in the Facebook stream. How you doing? How are you, Terry? I'm gonna go ahead and end the. He's a local guy good friend of mine, and here he is in our Facebook stream.